Hakadosh Boker Or Masechet Gittin Daf Lamed Vav Amud Aleph Chodesh Tov. This is 36a. The Gemara says as follows. Yesterday we spoke about that if you're talking about that maybe the person is going to come and he's going to be a Kohen and he gets married to a woman which is pasul to him, so he wants to do the avodah. So what does he do? He's not allowed to do the avodah until finally you come and you are madido tohanaa. What does that mean? That he swears that he's not going to have any benefit from her, and then he's going to divorce her, and then he could do the avodah. The question is, right, that we said maybe he's going to do a farad nedarim if he doesn't have to be mefaret et neder. He's going to do a farad hatarat nedarim. He comes to the rabbi, I want to do a hatarat nedarim, and then they come and they annul it. So madrin ila berabim. What does it mean? The rabbim, they come and they do it in the public. So says the Gemara, Hani chalaman amar. This is good according to the Manda Amar. Neder sheudar barabim en lo afara. A neder which was done barabim, you cannot do a farad nedarim, right? But according to the Mandamar, the yeshu farad, what are you going to say then? What the rabbi could come and be matir zeh even without any problem. Why? Because even though it was done barabim, you could still permit it. And so the Gemara dat rabim. It's not that it was done barabim; it was done al dat rabim. Once it's done al dat rabim, damar meimar hilchata dalacha is afilu mandamar. Even according to the Mandamar, barabim yeshu farad. That if you did it publicly, you could still do a tarah. But if it's going to be a dat rabim, you cannot do hafarav. And Elmaleh, when is this? The dvar reshut, only to do with the dvar reshut, but to do with the dvar mitzvah. For example, let's say he was, the neder was stopping him from doing mitzvah. There does exist hafara, even though it was done al dat rabim, because obviously the rabim wants him to do a mitzvah. Obviously, okay, fine. Kiyahu, just like the case of mikre dardeke, there was a person that he was a melamed tinokot. Remember mikre. Lashon mikra, teaching of mikra, teaching of chumash. Dardeke or kindolach, right, or children. So he says, Kiahu mikre de dardeke. There was somebody that he was a teacher. Te adre rav acha al dat rabim, dave pasha bienuke. Because basically he went and he made a neder, right? Of what? That he could not teach anymore. Why? He was not acting properly. He used to hit them too much. I mean, he was yeah, too much, right? He was too much with the. Now again, the little children, right? If they're men, right? The Gemara always says. Why does the Gemara always say "Ko tomar levet Yaakov v'tagel lebnei Yisrael"? Tomar levet Yaakov, bet Yaakov, to speak to them nicely, softly, gently. That's women, right? But men, kashin kagidim. You have to give it to them hard, right? Sometimes there are certain men that they have to, right? Ko tomar, right? Huh?
More hard.
No. Sometimes you have to go soft, right? But right, the concept though is that right when a person comes and he has the person comes and he has this concept, right? He has to be careful of how he's doing it. So Ravina comes, right, and he brought him back. Ravina comes, right? Ravina comes, right? And he says, and what happened was he permitted him. Al dat rabim, he permitted him to come and to teach it. He says, why? Because there was nobody that was so meticulous like him. Meaning, no matter what you want to say, that maybe he was a little bit harsh on the children, but there was nobody like him. He was medayek. Everything was like, very digduk, right? Kol, chol, this. He knew what he was doing. Yeah, he was teaching it properly. So because of that, even though it was done al dat rabim, now, technically speaking, once it's al dat rabim, you can do a tarah. He says, no. But since it was going to stop a mitzvah, because at the end you were going to have a teacher that was going to be like him, so therefore they came and they annulled it. Okay?
Good.
So if you remember, we were going in the shita, not of Rabbi Meir, but rather Rabbi Elazar, that the mesira karte. Now, if a demesira karte means that the witnesses which actually give over the get, they deliver the get, those are the ones that actually cut off the get. Technically speaking, you don't need any witnesses that are signed on the get. But because of tikkun haolam, we sign the get as well. Says the Gemara, mipnei tikkun haolam, midoraitahu. Midoraita, you have to sign on the get. The Yechtiv, it says in Yirmiyah, vekatov b'sefer v'hatom. You have to write it and you have to sign it. So if midoraita, you have to sign a get. What are you telling me? Because of tikkun haolam. Tikkun haolam is mashma. We want to fix the world, so you know what? Fix the world this way. What's going on here? So says the Gemara, Amar Rabba says, Lo tzricha, what are we dealing with? Rabbi Elazar damar de Mesilat. We're going in Shitat Rabbi Elazar de Mesilat Karte. So according to him, the Kin Rabbanan de Chatamim, the Kin Gulam. Zimnin the mighty Sada, because sometimes you're going to bring witnesses. Inami Zimnin Dazlin Dinatayam. Or, right? Sorry, the mighty Sada, sometimes they're going to die. Or sometimes it happens that he goes from Dinatayam. Now, if right now they're going to say, the husband's going to say that he didn't divorce her, and the get is Mizuyaf, she can't prove it anymore. What's she going to do? She's going to bring them back from the dead? What's she going to do? She's going to go to Honolulu to find them. They moved out of town, right? Or she moved out of town. Now she has to go looking, right, for Edim. It's going to become very difficult. So because of that, if they sign the get, now what happens is that now it's going to help her. Another explanation of Yosef. So that means, again, according to this, it was going according to the Bilazar, the Demisira Karte. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yosef says, no, afilu tema, even if you could say, it's a bimir. Itkinu shiyehe edim farshin shemotehem begitin mipene tikuna olam. We could say that even according to Shtat Rabbi Meir, you have to sign it. Still, they had to actually be faresh shemotehen. You have to explain their names. Ketayas we learned on right, but Yishana Yakotev ani ploni chatamti ed. What? No. Ani ploni chatamti ed. He wouldn't say his name. So imagine you had a get, and at the bottom of the get, ani ploni chatamti ed. Ani ploni. No, זה מה שאומר. שלא היה מזכיר את שמו. אם כתב ידו יוצא ממקום אחר, so if they're able to recognize, right, the signatures, meaning the ktav yad, his handwriting from somewhere else, kasher, ואם לאו פסול, if not פסול. So what happened? So אמר רב גמליאל, שהשנה גדולה התקינו שמפרשים שמותיהן בגיטין לתיקון העולם. So what happened? They actually came and they started writing the actual name, so that when the betin, they would be able to find out who it is. Why? Because if I'm just going to say ani ploni, okay, so now start taking signatures or start taking handwriting and start comparing, right? עוד פעם?
הוא לא רושם אני פלוני, הוא רושם אני עד.
כן, אני עד. Alright, or אני פלוני, okay, fine. According to the Girsa of our Gemara, it's ani ploni chatamti ed. According to others, they say no, just ani ed, whichever one it is. But the kavanah was that they didn't write the name. Right, without the name. Just ani ed or ani ploni ed. Right, doesn't matter what. What? This is because I just signed it. That's it. What do I have to sign? Yeah. So says the Gemara, by the way, right? You have that until today.
No.
I'm going to ask you a question. Right? How many times does it happen that you sign something, right? And what do you do?
You can read your name.
You could read the name.
No,
you come and you scribble.
Yeah.
Some documents, when they're smart, they come and they'll write down the name on the bottom, and then you have to come and you sign your name on the top. Other documents, you come, I make a scribble. You think what a scribble is? Yeah, I know what that scribble is. 20 years later, you think the scribble is going to help? But that's what happened. So there's the Gemara, uvsimana lo. You can't sign with a siman. What does that mean? Rav tzayir kavla. Rav, you know how Rav used to come and sign? What was Rav's signature? A fish. A fish. Yeah, he drew a fish. Chanina tzayir charuta. He used to make like palm trees. I guess he was in Florida, right? He used to make palm trees. Rav Chasta, the letter Samech. Yeah, Samech. Rav Oshaya, the letter Ayin. Rabba Baravuna, Tzayir Makuta. He used to make like the sails of the how do you call this, of the sfina, of the boat. Yeah, that's what they used to do. Yeah. So what happens is that how can you tell me now that they have to explain the names? There's no name. A fish is a name. Yeah. So answers the Gemara. Shane Rabbanan the Bekin Simenayhu. Rabbis are different. Because since everybody knows that there's a big rabbi, they know a signature. Right? Meaning the concept buha. Everybody knows the buha is who? Right? What does that mean? That means everyone knows that this was like his. So therefore, the fact that he signed or this was his signature, that's it. You didn't have to write down a name. You already knew it was him. So says the Gemara, okay, fine. But at the beginning, how did they know at the beginning that was his name? So answers the Gemara, bediske. Right? What does that mean? Many times he used to come and he used to send out a thing. So that's how they used to know it. By the way, you could actually have that in the Rav Chida. I think if you remember, it's like it's not like a fish, but it's something like very interesting. Like it's like a graphic, it's like a design, right? It's like a very graphic design. Now again, sometimes they did actually have their names there, but it was a graphic design. Okay, so therefore you see from here that a siman does help if the siman was something kavua that everybody knows. This is the name. Okay, we did mention, right, that Rav. We brought this down one time. I don't remember where. But Rav, the Gemara Metzia brings this down. The Gemara there says that Rav went to a cemetery and he saw that 99 out of 100 people died because of Ainara. So because 99 out of 100 people died because of Ainara, Rav used to sign as a fish. What is the fish? Against the Ainara. So that's why he used to sign, right? He used to come and sign. Huh? What?
The fish is separate.
Hillel came Prusbol. Hillel came in the Institute of Prusbol. Taranat, we learned over there, Prusbol eno meshamet. Remember that Prusbol makes that it doesn't stop the Shemitah. Again, is one of the things that Hillel Zaken instituted. Because he saw that people were stopped lending people. Why? Because right now, what am I going to lend you money and then it's going to be cut off by Shemitah? I'm not going to lend you a penny. So then they're going against the Torah. The Torah says, right? So he instituted the Prusbol. And this is some, right? This is the Prusbol. The Prusbol is, and this was actually written there. I'm giving over to you the ploni, the dayanim, which are in this certain place. That any chov that I have by you, right? That I'm going to be able to come by this person. I could come and I could collect it whenever I want. But dayanim chotmin lamata, and the dayanim are going to sign on the bottom, or hayadim, or the witnesses are going to sign on the bottom. So says the Gemara, Omi kamid midoraita mishametav shaviit. I don't understand. Midoraita, right? It's gone. Kaddish, right? The loan went gone. Now Hillel is going to come and he's going to say midrabbanan. Now it's not. How do you do that? If midoraita it's gone, it's gone. Answers the Gemara Marabai says b'shvit b'zmanazeh. First of all, we're talking about shvit nowadays, right? And it's according to Shtat Rabbi. That what? That nowadays it's only drabbanan, meaning shemitah nowadays that it cuts off money is only drabbanan because we're not in the Bet HaMikdash. So therefore, there's no shvit midoraita. So he comes and he says, right? The Tanya is going to the Braita. Rabbi says, "V'zed var shemitah shamot." What does that mean? These are the concepts of shemitah, the devar, right? The devarim of shemitah that it's going to be shamot. The Torah is talking about two different shemitahs, but it says v'zed devar shemitah shamot. Achat shmitat karka. There's two different types of shemitah. One of them is shmitat karkaot, and one of them is shmitat ksafim. Bizman shata meshamet karka, yes, in dvarim, right? Bizman shata meshamet karka, ata meshamet ksafim. Right? There's a right in re. Right? So when he says when you're going to be meshamet karka, you're going to be meshamet ksafim, which means that when you're going to be obligated to come and to give, do shemitah on the land, so you're obligated to do shemitah on the ksafim. But if you cannot, you don't do it on the land, you don't do it on the ksafim. Which means shmitat karkaot is not min a Torah bizman azeh, according to Rabbi, because he holds that kedushat haaretz was batla bizman churban, and therefore all the mitzvot tatlio ba'aretz, right, are nowadays are not noeg according to him. It's only drabanan. Again, this is all according to Rabbi. So therefore, if shmitat karka does not noeg, shmitat ksafim does also not noeg. Says the Gemara Lamevavum Bet 36b, Etakinu Rabbanan Teshamet. So says the Gemara, however, though, even though midoraita, then technically speaking, it does not cut off the loan, right? The rabbis instituted that it should cut off the loan. Zecher l'shvit, to remember of Shemitah, to remember of Shvit. But Hillel said, listen, the rabbis were the ones that said that technically speaking, it should cut off. Why? Because of Shvi'it, because of Shemitah. The rabbis were the ones that would institute it. But it came out not good because the rabbis instituted that it should cut off, and then that same institution was stopping people from lending money. Because why in the world will I lend the money if afterwards I'm just going to wait for Shemitah and then tell you hasta la vista, I don't know you anything. So therefore, what happens? So therefore, it's not going to help. Okay. So therefore, he made a Prusbol. Says the Gemara, the opposite now. The Gemara is going to ask, does there exist something in Doraita? It doesn't cut it off. And the rabbis say that it cut it off. Meaning right now you owe me money. All of a sudden the rabbis have the power of saying, no, he doesn't owe me money. Aywa, midoraita, he owes me money. How does it work? Answers the Gemara, Abai says, Sheval Tasehu. Yeah. The rabbis are able to uproot something from the Torah with a sheval ta'aseh. What does that mean? Sheval ta'aseh means sit and don't do nothing. Some people, they do that all the time, by the way. Right? They just sit and don't do nothing. What is the concept of sit, don't do nothing? Right? Sit and don't do nothing means that you're not doing something with a kum va'aseh. You're not uprooting it by coming and doing something active. You're doing something passive. So the rabbis have the power that if it's going to be something passive, they could tell you, you know what? Don't do anything. They can't tell you to uproot it proactively, but passive, they could tell you, don't do it. Don't do nothing. And therefore what? You don't have to pay it back. Rava comes and he says, no, that's not the reason why. You know why the rabbis were able to do such a thing? Hefker bedin hefker. What does that mean? Hefker bedin hefker. What does that mean? Whatever bedin make mafkir, make hefker, it's hefker. So the rabbis have the power to come and say, his money now becomes my money. And my money becomes his money. His money becomes, right? And okay, fine. So his money becomes my money. Right? And your money becomes, right, somebody else's money, right? Right? What does that mean? It means basically what happens is the rabbis have the power to uproot and to make hefker. And once it's hefker, that's it. So he says, how do we know the bedin hefker? He says, it says in a pasuk, וכל אשר לא יבוא לשוד של הימים, כעצת השרים והזקנים יחורם, כל לחושו ויבדל מקהל הגולה. Rabbi Eliezer comes and he says, right, mehacha. So basically, for Rabbi Yitzchak, he actually comes and he says, anybody that's not going to come for the first 3 days, like the advice of the Sarim and Zekirim, all their property become cherem. And all of a sudden now, you could just come and do whatever it is. So basically, Ezra and Shekin and Segdullah, they called everybody, they told them, come back up to it. It's what happened within 3 days? What happened is that, right, there were people that they got married to Goyot, right, and they wanted them to divorce them. And then what happened is that they went and they paid a knas and an onish. Anybody that does not come, they lose everything. So imagine you had a property in Israel, right? And somebody was in Chutz La'aretz during the 70 years of the exile, and they started getting married to Goyot. They started getting so what happened? They came and they said everyone has to come within the 3 days. If you don't come within the first 3 days, kaddish, you lose everything. Mefurash. It's a pasuk. So you see that Ezra and then Shekin and Segdullah were able to come and make hefker bedin hefker. Second explanation, Rabbi Eliezer omer meyacha. Rabbi Eliezer says in the pasuk in Yoshua. Yoshua says, "Ela nechalot asher nichalu el hazar hakodesh shel binu rashi avot v'chi ma'inyan etzel avot." What does that have to do with avot? Like ma rashi avot, ma kesher? Rashi matot. It's the heads of the tribes, not rashi avot. What does it mean rashi avot? To tell you, just like avot manchilin benehem kol ma sheyirtzu. Just like a father could make inherit his child anything that he wants, so to the Rashim Achilim Ankul Mashirtzu. So to the heads, they could give to the nation anything that they want. And therefore it comes out that from here you see that they could actually come and Hefker Bedin Hefker. So we're going to ask the following question now. Kitkin le Pruzbol, when Pruzbol came and who instituted it, did he institute it for all generations? Or Dilma Ledare just for his generation? Or Dilma Ledare Almar for all generations of the worlds? Namitaki. So says the Gemara, fine, the might coming. What do I care? What do I care whether it's now or forever? Answers Gemara, levetule to annul it. Right? Why? Can I be mevatelet there or not? Why? Because if you're going to tell me now that it was only for his generation, okay, it's his generation. Nowadays I can annul it. But if you're going to tell me it was Lidare Alma, it was forever, who am I to come and start annulling something that Hillel Zaken came in the institute? If you told me it was his own generation, so then you could annul it. But if you're going to tell me that he did it for all generations, one betting cannot annul another betting's words unless they're greater in wisdom and in numbers. So what's halacha? Right? There's a whole question about that. Right? So the Gemara says, what is halacha then? Tashema. So we're going to come and we're going to bring a proof. Right? He comes and he says, right, as follows. He comes and he says, right, like this. He says, you're not going to write a pruzbul unless you're going to be in the bedin of Surah, which was bedin of Rav, or in the bedin of Shmuel and the Narda. These are never going to tell me that he did it for all generations. So why don't you do it in every bedin? So answers the Gemara, it's not a proof. Maybe you only instituted in a big bedin. Has to be a bedin like Hillel. right? Or for example, Ravami and Ravasi, that they were able to take out money. But not that. Meaning, the really bad he made a generation for all generations. He made the institution. But here it's a different halacha. He wanted it in a real Betty, no, Mickey Mouse, right? A place. So Tashma, let's try to bring another proof then. Shmuel says, he says a pruzbul as a chutzpah of dayanim. Right? Why? Because they're basically taking money, right? Bekoach and lokadin. So if I had the power, I would actually annul it. Avatzlinu, how could you annul it? So you see from here that obviously you see that it had to be annulled with chukma minyan. Yeah? So he comes and he says, what we're talking about now, the entire concept of the pruzbul is an ulbenad dayane. So he comes and he says that if I wanted to come and I wanted to annul it, I would have annulled it. So he says, but he's not greater in bechuma minyan. So Achikama, that's what he means. If I would have been stronger than Hillel, then I would have done it. I would have annulled it. Rav Nachman comes and he says, no, I would have been mekayim et zeh. It's already mekuyam. It's already there. It's kilu that you have a law in place. You say, I would have validated the law. It's already there. I don't have to do anything with it. So says the Gemara, I would have said something. That even though if it's not going to be written, a pruzbul on the chov, right? It's kilu that it's written, which means kilu stam, that all the malvim is kilu that it's already done with a pruzbul. Meaning, if I was there, I would have instituted even more than Hillel. Hillel instituted, you do a loan, but then when it comes Shemitah, I come and I have to make a pruzbul. Says Rav Nachman, if I was there, I would have told Hillel, we should make a new institution. You don't have to write a pruzbul. When you give the loan, it's automatically a pruzbul. It's automatically done. Right? That's what Rav Nachman comes and he said. So they come and they ask, Hay ulbena lishna de chutzpahu or lishna de nichutahu? Right? Ulbena, is that a lashon of chutzpah, which means the kavanah of Shmuel is that it's a chutzpah mitzad dayanim that they're making. Right? You know what chutzpah is, right? It's in the English dictionary, by the way. Right? Chutzpah, right? Yeah. It's a chutzpah, right? Or do you, why? Because they're coming, they're collecting money with those strength. Or is it lishna de nichuta? Nichuta is like a nochiyut, like it's to make it easier and things. The Chachamim came and they instituted it just to make things easier for the Dayanim, that they didn't come and they didn't obligate for such a thing. So Tashema, so we're going to try to bring a proof. Ula says, Aluva kala shezinta bekerev chupata. This is a woman that she is going to have relations in the middle of the chuppah, meaning when the Bnei Yisrael did the egel, right? The betoch. He comes and he says, right? The kala, when she came, just like Bnei Yisrael, they did the egel when they were still in front of Har Sinai and the Shekhinah was still there. So it's the same thing that when a kala comes and she's going to have a morality, right? Betoch chuppah, bekerev chupata, that is aluva, that's a chutzpah. So the same thing. So you see from here that obviously the lashon of aluva meant chutzpah. So Amar Rav Mari beredev bat Shmuel, says Rav Mari, the son of Bat Shmuel. Okay. So the whole question here, why is it called Bat Shmuel instead of the father's name? Maikra, what is a pasuk to tell Bnei Yisrael that when they were actually compared by Chet Egel to a kala that she's mizana bechubata? He says, Ad she'amelech b'msibo nirdi natan lechol. What does that mean? Ad she'amelech b'msibo means when the melech is still within them, right? Bechupato, right? What happened was Azav was right. That's what it says here. Bosmiyat recho atov mechamat Chet Egel. Right, they actually went and they abandoned the Kadosh Baruch Hu with the Chet HaEgel. So therefore, they went and they gave their smell. Basically, they went and they abandoned their smell. So here means like Natan is Milashon Azav. So there's Natan Sichon, it is right, just like it says that Sichon did not give the permission for them to go through. Natan here means the same thing, right? He didn't let them do something. So that's a Lashon Nochiyut, right? He didn't let them. So Amar Rava comes and he says, Adain chavivuta ugaban. He says, 1 second, but still, right? They didn't mention the lashon of right chiba tichtiv v'natan v'lo ktiv yisriach. Did you realize it didn't say that they were masriach? Masriach means that they went off, right? That they, something that goes rotten. It's yisriach. So it just says v'lo natan. It didn't give. It gave the smell. So Tanu Rabbanam, we also learned in the Braita, right? This is another right concept of the word alev. Right? What is that? Hane'alavim ve'enam ulvim. the ones which are embarrassed by other people, but they do not embarrass back. Shomin cherpatam ve'em meshivim. They listen to their disgrace, but they do not answer. Osin me'ahava. They do from love, from ahavat Hashem, and not because of sachar. Usmechim b'yisurim, and they are happy with suffering. Alehem hakatuv omer, on them it says, ve'ohavav ketzet hashemesh b'gvurato. That their love is like the strength of the sun, right, in its gvura. What does it mean in its gvura? In its strength. Which means that a person that comes, and even though they're coming, they're embarrassing him, and they're cursing them, and they're doing whatever you want, you keep quiet. That's it. On him, it's written that the loved ones are going to be ketzet hashemesh b'gvurato. Like when the sun comes out, that it's going to be so strong, right, that nothing will be able to go in front of it. Okay? Fine. So that is another concept of the word, right? Alev, as we've already mentioned, right, before, the concept of ne'elavim, which means that they are embarrassed by other people, which means that the chutzpah was done to them, ki. That's the kavanah. So my prusbol, says the Gemara, what is a prusbol exactly? Amar Rav Chasta, says Rav Chasta, peros, which means peros is a takana, shel, right, for the good of bule ubute, which the Gemara is going to explain. What is bule bute? Bule are the ashirim, right? Dichtiv v'shavatei geonu zechem. I'm going to break, right, the geonu zechem. These are the rich people of Yehuda. So we see from here the bule are ashirim, and bute are the aniim. Dichtiv ha'avet tavitenu lo. Right? What does it mean? You have to lend the money. So you see from here that when it says the word of bute, which is ha'avet, right, havata, so therefore it's called a bute, right? Right. So he comes and he says because the Leviim, the derech klal, they were poor people, the Leviim, right? So it comes out the prusbol is a takana for the ashirim and for the aniim, for the ashirim that they shouldn't lose, and for the aniim that people should agree to lend them the money. So therefore, it's a takana for the rich and for the poor. The rich, that way they don't lose money, and for the poor, so people agree to lend them money. So that's why it was called prusbol.